Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate the parallax camera effect. First of all, you need to open up the file with the assets in, stored in the library, and then we're going to drag these assets onto the stage onto separate layers. We're going to use the sky first of all, which is going to remain fixed. So if you just drag that in onto a layer and size it to the same size of the stage. Okay, just rename the layer sky. Create a second layer and name that houses. Drag the houses movie clip in. You'll see that's longer than the stage because we were going to create a panning camera movement. And then we're going to bring in the character. So again, the third layer, name character, drag in the character asset. And resize that. And then finally in the foreground, I'm going to create a tree layer. And drag in the tree movie clip. We can duplicate that a couple of times. Just resize. Duplicate. Copy and paste. Resize for different sizes. Okay, so that's all the assets in place on separate layers. You can toggle on and off the graphic to see the stage, where everything is in relation to the stage. Okay, so the key to this now is the way this works is we've got the XY axis, so everything's in 2 dimensions is on the vertical X and horizontal Y axis. What we can do is we can also place things on the Z axis into 3-dimensional space. So if we select the layer with the houses movie clip first of all, okay, and then move over to the properties panel, and you'll see where it says 3D position. In the properties panel, we can click where the Z axis is. We can click on there and change it from 0 to 500, which pushes the houses back into the distance 500 pixels along the X axis. Okay, now we've pushed it into the distance. It remains 500 pixels into the distance. We just want to resize it so it's back to its original size. Yeah, so we've done that. Now we'll do with the character. We'll click on that and push that 200 pixels into the distance along the Z, and again resize that approximately back to its original size. And again, you'll note it remains at the same distance on the Z axis. Okay, and then finally, once we've arranged that, we have the trees in the foreground. Now I think with the trees we'll actually turn them into one object. So if you control click on the 3 trees and then right click and convert to symbol, you can just call that trees, new movie clip, so they become one object. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring those actually closer to us. So rather than 0, these are going to be minus 200, so they're going to be closer to us than 0. So minus 200 along the z-axis. Again, we'll resize those, they're a little bit big now. So we're using the transform tool. Okay, and position those. Okay, so finally what we want to do is we want to group everything together inside one movie clip, which we're going to call scene. So if you press Control A, that will select them all. Right click, convert to symbol, and call it scene, the new movie clip, and they're all inside there. Now we don't actually want the sky to be inside there, so we're going to go inside that movie clip by double clicking on it, and we're just going to select the sky and cut that out of there. Go back to the main scene and paste that back on the sky layer separately, so it's no longer inside the movie clip, because that's, like I said before, that's going to remain fixed and that's not going to move. Okay, so now what we can do is we can grab the scene movie clip, we can click on it with the selection arrow, oh sorry, before we do that we're going to apply a blur filter to the trees in the foreground. This creates a depth of field effect. So if you, on the properties panel, scroll down till you see the filters panel and click in the bottom left hand corner, and you'll see, select the blur option, and then you can change the blur settings. You see blur X, blur Y, set to 5. You can click and drag across those to change the value up or down, increase or decrease the blur. Yeah, sorry. So again, we'll do that. So just selecting the trees. Again, go to the properties panel, scroll down so you see the filters panel. Click in the bottom left hand corner for new filter. Select blur, and you can change the blur value by clicking and dragging. And that's blurred the trees and create the illusion that the camera is focused on the character and the houses in the background. Okay, and you see if we click and drag on the movie clip now, the scene movie clip, everything moves in relation to the where the position on the z-axis. So objects in the distance move more slowly than objects in the foreground. So the trees in the foreground are moving more quickly than the houses in the background. Yeah, and the characters somewhere in between. Okay. So we're going to apply an animation to this. So if we move everything to the right slightly, okay, click and drag at frame 80. So we've selected all the frames there. Right click and insert frame. Extends everything over, and then on the top layer, the one with the parallax camera effect on, you right click and create motion tween. Okay, the beginning of that we want it to be as it is. We move the needle to the end of that block and move everything to the left, and that will tween all the frames in between those two key frames. Okay, we scrub back across there. You see how that's going to animate. So kind of you can imagine you're in a car or something driving past the scene. Test it, and that shows the how it will publish on the stage. Okay, now just to demonstrate things how they are on the Z-axis, we select the 3D rotation tool, and then just making sure we select the top layer, 3D rotation tool. Okay, we can rotate the objects around the Z-axis there, and you'll see how they're distributed along that axis at different intervals. Okay, so that just illustrates the positioning of them. Okay, so that's the parallax camera effect with depth of using the blur tool to create a depth of field effect, and mimicking a real camera.